All right, this is me and my friend Daniel Sørensen. Today is July 28th and we are in downtown Vancouver, and this is Canada Place and the beautiful Vancouver. Thank you, Daniel, for joining me today.
Thank you.
And having this opportunity to ask you some questions, and I would like to introduce you. I remember the first time I met you was almost a year ago when you suddenly showed up in Coquitlam Library in one of our tournaments. Nobody knew you, and gradually after a year now all our members in Canada and Vancouver specifically know you and they are proud of you. So can you please introduce yourself?
Yes.
And why are you here in Vancouver today?
My name's Daniel Sørensen, and I'm
Louder. Really.
okay. Yeah, and I was born here in Vancouver, Canada, and grew up in Norway, and somehow ended later in life in Denmark and started playing backgammon there. And then I visit my dad who lives here in Canada.
Wonderful. And so you grew up in Denmark, and then
I grew up in Norway, actually.
Norway. Oh,
yeah.
wonderful.
So we moved to Norway when I was 8 years old, and then sort of moved back and forth as an adult between Canada and Norway, and then I met my Danish wife, and then ended up in Denmark.
What year was it?
That was I moved to Denmark in 1995.
Wow,
yeah,
long time ago.
Yeah, and then I had learned backgammon a year before.
Before going to Denmark?
Denmark, yes, and I played...
In Vancouver?
No, I learned it actually by my sister. My sister taught me the rules in Norway. At a cafe in Norway, up in northern Norway, and then...
1994 almost.
Yeah, she taught me this in 1992, and then we had a board, my wife and I, and we played just her and I. We didn't know about the cube, we didn't know about gammons.
Oh, traditional backgammon.
Yeah, just traditional backgammon. But
like what people play in Middle East as well.
Yeah, I would say maybe like actually some of the rules were actually tournament style rules, like the dice. You know, you pick up the dice when your turn is over. And that's something that I always do, and I always teach kids to play by the real rules, because I figure that if they ever start playing in the tournament, they don't have to relearn the rules. They can just play what they're used to. So,
wonderful,
yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah.
And what do you do in Denmark?
Yeah, in Denmark I work as, it's called a pedagogue. I think if you translated it into what they have here, it's like an assistant teacher. So I work in classes and support the math teachers, all the other different subjects that they have, and then sometimes I have my own hours with them. And then it was in one of those hours that I was playing. I said, hey, I should show you backgammon. This years ago. Like this is like, I think the first time I did this is like 8 years ago or something like that.
8 years ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then I knew that kids could get hooked. Like I could see that kids were enjoying the game. And we weren't playing in the class. I also had them in after school hours, so I was mostly playing there. And then one day I came to the after school hours, and I told the kids, you know, you have to look after the equipment. If we lose the checkers, I said, we can't play. So I want you guys to really look after the equipment. And then I came and I could see the boards were gone. And I figured, oh, they haven't put it back in their place. And I said, hey kids, I've told you. Where are the boards? Put them back in place. But it turned out the reason they weren't there were that they were all in use. Everyone was playing.
Wow.
So we had like 10 boards or something, 20 kids were playing.
Kids.
So that was my first experience with that kids like the game. A couple years later, I started teaching a class backgammon in the school hours. And then I remember one of the first days after I did this, I came to school when school was about to start, and then this 8-year-old comes up to me and says, "Daniel, you forgot the backgammon boards in the office.
Oh.
They're supposed to be in the class."
Oh.
And I said, "Yeah, I'm sorry about that." And he said, that's 15 minutes that I could have used spending on backgammon, and now I didn't use on anything. I said, "You're a real backgammon player." So that convinced me that backgammon could be a part of the school world. And since I worked there, and since I was a tournament backgammon player, I figured that was just obvious. Like, who's going to show them how to play? It would have to be me.
Wonderful. You are a unique person because you have both skills, being a teacher and being a world-class backgammon player at the same time. And many good players, world-class players I mean, they don't have any interest in teaching.
Yeah.
And vice versa. Some teachers don't know what backgammon is at the world class.
Yes.
So I really appreciate what you have done in Denmark and in your school for your students. And I remember the last event that you ran in Denmark was magnificent. I just got surprised when you shared some photos in your Facebook.
Yeah.
And wow, mind-blowing. I guess many of your friends were shocked with that event. Can you please let me know why and when? How come that event got planned, organized?
Okay, well, I'm sure we could have done this even without some background, but we had the background that I mentioned. But we also now, quite a few years ago, the kids that are now about to start in grade 9, they went in grade 4. So this is 5 years ago. So 5 years ago, we started. I had this idea we're going to have a backgammon tournament with the grade 4 kids. So I invited my friend and also one of the world's best players, Lars Tabor, over. And he didn't even really at first think it was such a great idea. But like, he wasn't convinced it was a good idea. But when he came and experienced the kids and backgammon, he was hooked. So therefore I wanted to do it again, but I didn't really know how I would get the school to say yes to this. And so a couple of years went by, and then this is 2 years ago. Then we did the tournament again, but this time it would be organized in a real team competition tournament. So we had 3 players on each team, and they played around, like those 3 teams played each other in their classrooms, and then after that was finished, they were sort of warmed up. Then a new tournament they played 16-team tournament with consolation. So a tournament and consolation, and that's a year ago. And then this year, I asked everyone that if they wanted this to be a part of what they wanted to do, and some people had a big yes, and some people were less enthusiastic, but they went along with it, you know. And then I had to start teaching 6 classes, and I didn't have them daily, so it was about making appointments with their teachers. Hey, can I come in and show them the rules here? Can I do? And some classes were easier to do this than others, but they all liked it. And when kids saw me and say, "Hey, when are we going to be playing backgammon again?" So that was the challenge. It was to teach, you know, 2/3 of these kids, so 120 kids that hadn't played backgammon before. They had to learn it, and enough so that they could play it themselves by the time we ended up in the last tournament. So
and many of them don't have any backgammon board in home to practice.
No, but Denmark has, I think I told you, like in Denmark we have this huge advantage that backgammon, the kids maybe not know it, but their parents do, because 20 years ago backgammon was really a big cafe tournament. Like,
Oh, nice.
sorry, I said cafe tournament, but they had a very large cafe tournament in Denmark where 5,000 non-tournament players played.
Wow.
Yeah.
5,000.
5,000
Wow.
in different cafes all over Denmark.
Wow.
Yes.
At the same time?
Different days of the week, you know, and then each winner of every cafe tournament, Carlsberg.
This is a wonderful idea.
Yeah. And Carlsberg sponsored with today it was a dream. We didn't know how lucky we were, but it was a dream. They sponsored with every year $200,000.
Wow.
Every year 200. Every winner of the cafe, they got boards, and then they had the main tournament, and then the 3 best placed, they won a trip to Monte Carlo World Championship.
Wonderful.
So we had many people doing that.
So those cafes sort of support these events.
Yes.
Wonderful.
And the cafes wanted it because they would take a slow evening, you know, a Tuesday evening.
Yeah, they make
like
business.
And then they had business. And then, but somehow backgammon dropped in popularity, and cafes, and they went out, they had other things that they became interested in. So that dropped, and then the interest of backgammon dropped. But these kids' parents are from that era.
Oh.
So they haven't played tournament backgammon, but they know backgammon.
They are familiar with
their
that.
friends, with the,
that really helps.
Yeah, and anytime you come into a cafe, there are boards, they say, hey, you want to play? And so in those days, you could walk into a cafe and there's always somebody playing.
Wonderful.
So today that's coming back. It's not the same as it was then, but it's coming a little bit back. You see backgammon players, and our club is trying to show ourselves different places like you guys are doing here in Vancouver, showing yourselves so the people that here can see that you're playing backgammon.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
This is great.
Yeah.
So what do you recommend for us to start teaching backgammon and promoting backgammon through the younger generation in Canada and specifically in Vancouver? You know, we are starting our bi-weekly teaching classes with the help of North Vancouver City Library. Yes. Every other Wednesday.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, and the young kids, since minimum 10 years old, we accept them to teach them backgammon.
Yes.
What do you recommend, for example, for the board size? But like 23 inches board size is a standard, and if they want to continue playing in a formal tournament, they need to get familiar with that size board.
Yeah.
Do you recommend to start with the formal size or any other recommendation?
Well, I don't think that matters that much. I think it just matters that like we're a privilege. Our school is privileged. We have the big tournament size backgammon boards that we borrowed from the federation. But if we only had a regular size, that would work as well.
Wonderful.
It would work. I don't think that's that important. What I do think is good is to think quantity instead of quality. And I'm not saying you shouldn't care about quality, but I'm just saying that if you want to work with kids and backgammon, think of it as a success that they just learned the game. Because if they learn the game and they're playing the game, then that's 90% of what you want them to do. And then later, when they have more experience, they themselves will come to you and they say, hey, what should I do here? I'd never know when to move the backman. I never know if I'm playing too aggressively. Every time I take a chance, it seems like I get hurt. What can I do with my game? When they start asking these questions, that shows that they're engaged in it. But if you start teaching that too quickly, in my experience, my opinion, they'll almost tell you, shut up.
Right.
Because
they get frustrated.
Yeah, well, it's just they're not ready for that. They're just trying to enjoy the game. Just
this
like
was my next question actually.
Yeah.
What sort of teaching material or sequences or chapters do you have something prepared or just?
We don't have much prepared in writing.
Okay.
But I've been doing this for some while, and I discovered that, I think I told you, like the terminology using the backgammon terminology in terms of let's say prime. You know, when you have several points in a row, and then use hits and use backman and just use the words because they like it. They like the phrases. They like to say that's called a prime, and so. But baby steps, always baby steps.
Were they interested in continuously playing over online websites?
Well, I think this is possible. The online.
I mean, among your students, were
No,
they
they,
any?
they haven't. They haven't been doing it much.
Oh, okay.
They right now the backgammon is mostly at school hours. You know, where we say now we're going to play backgammon. They're not really given any choice in it. And then when they start playing, they like it that way. But we do have our club has a backgammon tournament once a month at it's a street food place. So it's a place that everyone in our city knows.
No age limitation, right?
No age limit.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, and then we have a beginners tournament, and it's really beginners tournament. It's people off the street beginners tournament.
Wonderful.
And we play DMPs, 1 point matches.
Oh, great.
Yeah, and then everybody against everybody. So we have from sometimes we've had 5 people, and sometimes we have we've been as many as 16. So then we divide them in groups, and everyone.
No
plays.
buys, everything.
Yeah, everyone just plays,
yeah.
and then they like it because it's social.
Right.
So you get to meet many people at once, and if they play before, the month before, we only play once a month. But if they play the month before, they remember the match from a month ago.
Wonderful.
And some of the kids at our school, I think maybe 5 kids from the school, they've played in that.
Wonderful. How did you supply the enough boards for the students at the school? This is one of the initial challenges.
Yeah, exactly. That's where we're really lucky. The Danish Backgammon Federation, they have the Nordic Open every year at Easter, and they have tournament-sized boards, checkers, dice, and everything. And I just asked them, can I borrow those boards? Because that's at Easter. So we used the boards. We had I think 30 boards or something, and we were using these boards to play at the school and then also at the beginner tournament. But then after the Easter tournament in Copenhagen was finished, I could get all the boards. So we drove, it's 2 hours.
Oh.
We drove, and then we picked up all the boards in a bus, and then we drove back. And so I understand that.
How many?
We have in total 92 games.
Wow.
Some are in bad shape, but we have easily functioning 85 boards or something.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, but now the next challenge actually
Yeah.
is to get even more boards, because I'm in contact with another school. They might be able to participate next year. The new grade 4 kids, they haven't learned it yet, but they will be able to play. Great. So next year we might have as many. I'm hoping we can have as many as 320 kids.
Wonderful.
320.
Wonderful.
But these 320 kids need a board. So I'm in dialogue with the federation and asking them, can they buy more boards? And I hope they will.
Yeah, maybe some sponsors can support this, and also maybe schools.
Yes, and the schools, that's also possible. What I'm very careful about is if we're given a choice, I would like the federation to do it, because I want the federation to own the projects. Wonderful. And not 7-Eleven or
to make it an official program.
Yeah,
wonderful.
And also that that they own the concept, because as soon as someone else owns the concept, then we have to do something for them. If Backgammon Galaxy owns sponsor something,
Right.
then we have to do something for Galaxy.
Right.
And I don't
To
think
keep
that-
away from business part.
Yeah. If I can avoid it,
Right.
and I think we can avoid it.
Yes, exactly. I saw many, like 4 or 5 gentlemen in your event, the last event, and they were playing against young kids. And you told me they were world-class players and your friends. They accepted to spend their
Yeah,
time
yeah.
and supporting this event.
Yes.
They are not here today. I want to appreciate what they did.
Yes.
And can you please name them here?
Yeah, easily. Well, actually, I'll tell you the background of it. Lars Taubert, who's a world-class player, he had participated earlier, and he really wanted to participate again. But he's going to university, and his exam turned out to be the next day, so he couldn't come to our tournament. So he told me this. He knew about this 2 weeks ahead, and he told me right away. So then I thought, who do I know? And then I write to Sander Lulov. Sander Lulov is won World Championships in 2022. And I say, Sander, I know this is a long shot, but Tabi was supposed to come, and he can't come. Can you come? And then he came.
Wonderful.
He came, and then 2000 world champion Peter Hallberg, he came, and then Carsten Bredal, who's a double Nordic Open champion and international, all grandmasters. Well, Hallberg's not a grandmaster, but he's also a very strong player. And they came and took part. And when the players were knocked out of the tournament, they could play simultaneous backgammon against them. World champ. He would be playing against many kids at once, or they all were playing against many players at once. And they loved it. Like they really liked it.
Oh, exactly.
And I wish I could pay them. Like I wish I could say, here's money. But I didn't have any money, and the schools didn't volunteer to give any money. So and they just came without any
Expectation.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
great.
Credit for them. They just did it at their own interest. Yeah.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you. Thank you for being here today. I know your trip is ending and family is waiting for you. We will be in touch with you in online, in our workshops, and we need your experience to support whoever loves this crazy game.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.